This lecture is brought to you by the Canadian Bioinformatics Workshop. It's freely available to share and redistribute using the Creative Commons license as I have listed here. Module 3, Part 2, Network Visualization and Analysis with Cytoscape. So briefly before, we went over the basics of what networks are, how they are relevant to biology, and some of the different overview features that are available within networks. We're going to expand upon this and now talk about network visualization and analysis with Cytoscape. So by the end of this lecture, I hope that you understand how to choose and install Cytoscape apps, be able to use basic Cytoscape features, be able to create and optimize a network within Cytoscape. Network visualization analysis using Cytoscape. Network visualization using Cytoscape, which is a software tool that is freely available for use. It's an open source platform that was actually programmed in Java, and it's available across platforms. That was a big thing back when things didn't work between Windows and Mac so much as they do now. There are even parts of Cytoscape now that are moving towards the web, which is now the definition of cross-platform, but it is a very robust piece of software that you can use to create whatever type of network you want. As I said in the previous lecture, you define what your nodes are and you define what your edges are. So over here, there's a few different pictures that I have specifically of different types of networks that you can create. It's up to you. And the reason why I stress this point is that this workshop is looking at pathway and network analysis. And we are actually going to represent pathways in a slightly different way than you would think to represent them. It really depends on how you define the nodes and how you define the edges when you create a network. Cytoscape is open source and it is developed by multiple institutions across the world, not just in Canada and the US, but also in Europe as well. There are a load of different universities and companies that have been involved in the development of this piece of software over the years. So what can we do within Cytoscape? Well, number one is that we can create our networks, and we can make our own networks, or we can pull our networks in from online sources that have network data that's freely available and easy to pull in. We can filter our networks. So if you only want to see a subset, let's say you have a massive network and you only want to see proteins that have a given function, you can actually filter your network for just proteins that have that function and just see it. You can hide everything else. You can create a subnetwork from it. Another very, very useful feature of Cytoscape is automatic layouts. So you don't actually have to sit there and move your networks around. There are I'd say over 20, maybe even 30 different network layouts that you can try to lay out your different networks that you have. And it's not just limited to specific layouts that you might be familiar with. You can also do hierarchical like structure, assuming that you have networks of a given hierarchy. And there's also specific layouts that we prefer, but you can try them all out. Another really, really good feature I mentioned a second ago was the ability to pull in networks. You don't actually have to load in your Excel spreadsheet. There are also a lot of sources that you can pull in different types of networks, whether it's a Gene Mania network, which we're going to discuss in the course, or protein-protein interaction networks that you can pull in from PSI, QUIC, psychic is what people call it. Or also there is a database of networks that people have imported themselves, and you can pull a specific network from a given paper, for example, and that's in the form of the index resource. So there's a lot of different networks you can pull in and examine on your own as well. The beauty of Cytoscape, or one of the beauties of Cytoscape, is that it was set up with a system that you can make your own app. You can get Cytoscape to do something that you want it to do that is specialized to your research, for example. And so over the years, there have been many, many apps that have been developed. And here I just have a picture of the wall of apps. They are divided by different categories, right? Some of it is for data visualization, some's for network generation, some are specific algorithms that will analyze your network. and there are some that are specific to layouts. So there's a lot of different features that are added to Cytoscape by other groups that are looking to improve upon their own research. And the platform that of Cytoscape enables this very easily. So just like a brief overview, Cytoscape is a very, very active community with programmers always improving on the desktop application as well as developing new features and new ways to use Cytoscape. So some of these statistics are a little bit older. We have more than 10,000 users, 18,000 downloads per month. There's a lot of documentation online. There are mailing groups. If you ever get stuck, you can always send an email, and they're monitored and they're usually replied to pretty quickly. Another very cool feature that I personally use and is a lifesaver is you're actually able to automate a lot of the features in Cytoscape through R or through Python using a RESTful interface. Me personally, I use mostly R, and when I'm analyzing a lot of data sets that are very, very similar and I want to create networks, I don't have to sit there and load it in all manually. I do it directly from R, and it talks directly to Cytoscape, creating lots and lots of networks and even summarizing those networks for me and passing information back to R so that I can devise conclusions based on the analysis. It's been cited many, many times. And, as of June of this past year, there were more than 383 active apps that extend the functionality of Cytoscape. So you can build your own, or you could use the ones that are available. So this is just a list of the top apps, right? So they track how many times different apps have been downloaded. And what I've highlighted here, actually, anything you see in purple here, are some of the apps that we're going to use or you could use throughout this workshop. So we're going to be going over a little bit later. Enrichment map. I mentioned CyRest a second ago. That's the ability to talk to Cytoscape in an automated format from R or from Python or from a command. And I put it here. There are going to be examples of how you can automate the different tasks that we're showing. We're not actually going to do the automation part. We're actually going to do the step-by-step procedure of how we generate the data and the networks. But it's there for you for after the workshop if you want to try out automating things. There's also, if you finish labs, you can also go back and try the automation, which are in the form of R scripts that you can look at. So another one that I have highlighted here is actually a very, very popular one is the Y-Files layout algorithms. That was an add-on to Cytoscape. It doesn't come as a basic feature, but they're great algorithms that lay out the networks very, very nicely, and it's something that I personally prefer using over some of the other layout algorithms that come with Cytoscape. We're also going to be talking about GeneMania, which is a network app that is used for function prediction. And you can see that there are also some other apps here as well that we're not going to be going through, but I just wanted to highlight the top 10 apps, I guess, in the Cytoscape App Store. And I've highlighted here two other top Cytoscape apps that we're not covering in the workshop, specifically Clugo, which is another enrichment algorithm. It's limited to a few species, and I believe that it's limited to Go and Reactome, but it is a very popular enrichment analysis tool that people use, and definitely worth taking a look at after the course is through. So, briefly, what have we learned? Cytoscape is a useful, free software tool for network visualization and analysis. It provides a basic network manipulation and features, and there are a lot of different apps that we can use to extend its functionality. In addition to this video, there will also be another video that just briefly walks through Cytoscape. So it's kind of like a demo. So please watch that as well. And